For you and perhaps the Attorney General, the Justice Department recently received a criminal referral against New York Attorney General Letitia James for fraud. We haven't heard much about it. Could you or the Attorney General give us an update as to what's going on with that investigation?
Well, I don't want to get involved in something that Pamela's involved with. If you'd like to say something, Pam?
It's over, it ends, and we're coming after you.
This is not how government is supposed to work. These actions are dangerous, cruel, and illegal. They defy Congress's authority, and they violate federal law. And that is why today I am leading a lawsuit joined by Democratic attorneys general across the country to stop this administration from tearing down our public health infrastructure.
Listen to this. New York Attorney General Letitia James is now announcing a lawsuit against the Trump administration's Health and Human Services Department over proposed healthcare funding cuts. Of course, this comes just weeks after the DOJ announced that they are actually investigating some allegations of mortgage fraud against Letitia James. She calls that revenge, but the timing of all of this seems a little suspect.
Well, it is par for the course. You know, James has always used her office to target opponents, whether it's Trump or the NRA. She's very selective and she's very open in politicizing that office. And this is the latest of a series of lawsuits by Democratic leaders around the country. And the problem for the Trump administration is they file before favorable courts in blue states, and they're getting these national injunctions. And it's gotten to the point of being absolutely absurd. It means that a president cannot govern unless you can basically run the course with 677 district court judges, any one of which can issue a national injunction. So you've got to win every case 677 to 0 if you actually want to implement policy. Well, the justices have said, including liberal justices like Justice Kagan, that this is truly insane. And this is just the latest such lawsuit to try to limit what this president can do.
Well, let's talk about how much this could slow the administration down, because now she's calling up all of these AGs in blue states and asking them to join her on this lawsuit against HHS. I'm not sure who's going to want to jump in on that when she's under investigation herself. But how tangled up can this get for this administration when, like you said, I mean, they're literally facing injunctions and legal action, I mean, across the board?
Well, people need to think about the implications of what is happening. It means that you can be elected as a president, but effectively the presidency is going to be run at the discretion of district court judges issuing national or universal injunctions. That's not really how this is supposed to work. And the constitutional basis for these orders are extremely dubious. Some of these orders I find to be overtly unconstitutional, but they have to work their way through the system. And what these Democrats know is that in the usual course of things, they'll leave a president his third year before he can actually start to implement policy. And that's what's so insane about this. Now, on May 15th, the Supreme Court's going to look at national injunctions. And many of us are hoping that Chief Justice Roberts and the court will finally bring some semblance of order to all of this and deter these district court judges. Because we have a system that's run on people being able to vote in presidents to effectuate change, including looking for waste and in this case downsizing government. We've got to get back to that, and so that argument on the 15th is enormously important.
Look, that cut money has nothing to do with 9/11. Sure, New York politicians will probably take money away from the 9/11 victims to refund those drug programs, and then they'll blame it on Trump. But trust me, none of the cuts that originated from HHS were focused on cutting 9/11 health care. This is so disingenuous. But this is Letitia James, perpetually in campaign mode. And I'm kind of impressed, actually, today in a little way. She usually just raises her voice. She makes the case by increasing the volume of her voice in the absence of any facts, like last week. You would think as a lawyer she would know that yelling is not a legal argument. But look, here's my thing about addition treatment. And honestly, folks, like I'm sure some of you are commenting at home on this. I can speak to this since I have dealt with my own fair share in my family, actually quite a bit of it. I'm all for getting people clean, but at what cost? This is not the federal government's purview. It's just not. That's why the federal government never legalized hard drugs. You know, you might be able to make the case that states could fund this if they wanted to, but there's no case to sue and make the federal government foot this bill just because they had in the past. And most of these states on this list suing HHS, any of those states also decriminalize, the ones I was talking about, they decriminalize hard drug use, folks. I mean, that's the problem. That's the crux of Letitia James's lawsuit here, is that they decriminalized hard drug use. I know, shocker, that drug use went up when they needed that. And then they have more rehab there. And then they're tapping the federal government for more money for the rehab. And before you know it, through some like jilted liberal logic for therapy, they have crack pipe vending machines, and then taxpayers are footing the bill for that. Those states, they created a problem, and now they want federal dollars to solve it? Like, no thanks. Look, of course, some of that money was probably going to actual mental health and drug rehab, but at what cost? Was it being used efficiently? Probably not. I mean, obviously not if RFK felt that it needed to be cut. You just heard him in the White House a little while ago. He gets this. He comes from a family with substance abuse in it. This lawsuit from Letitia James kind of shows like the two sides of the parties and will likely lead to the argument that needs to be heard eventually. Is healthcare a right? It's not. And you can't make the case that it is. Oh, someone did a lot of drugs and therefore they need help. As a case to innocently force everyone else who doesn't do drugs or need help to pay for it. It's not a winning argument. And I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. People got their own problems. They shouldn't be footing the bill for other people's drug addictions. Again, sorry, not sorry. But the other fatal flaw here is that those 22 states that are choosing to take on this lawsuit, they chose Letitia James to represent them? Again, Letitia James, if you're going to swing at people, you better have your own house in order. Because you see, it turns out when you go after people, they fight back. And that's why you're now under investigation, because you decided to lob crazy, insane accusations at Donald Trump. Look, I don't care if you secured a conviction. It was from a judge whose daughter worked for his opponents. Doesn't count in my book, and it will be overturned. I'd bet the farm on that. But your legal activism, your grandstanding like this, led to people finding out that you listed rental properties as your primary residence in another state, by the way. It's like 400 miles away from you where you actually live and where you actually work. You listed a 5-unit home as a 4-unit building for tax purposes. Then you went after the most popular Republican president in the history of America, and you thought no one would notice the fact that you're doing almost the exact same count that you accused Trump of? Only they actually have proof on you. Just go count the mailboxes. And one would assume that you have to live in the state that you're the attorney general of. I mean, obviously. But look, I tell them, you guys want to go tit for tat on the investigation front? By all means. Trump's like the most investigated human in the history ever. You libs are the only people who are going to have anything new opened up against you, like AOC, too. I mean, again, if you're going to declare war on Trump, what do you expect? So she goes out, remember this, she gave this PowerPoint seminar for illegal immigrants on how to evade ICE, which, by the way, is obstruction of justice according to 18 U.S. Code Chapter 73. It's also a violation of 8 U.S. Code 1324, which is aiding and abetting illegal immigration and harboring and concealing non-citizens. So Tom Homan comes out and says, like, hey, this is the law, we might arrest you. And like the spoiled little millennial that she is, she goes and does it anyway, and then puts it on the internet, and then challenges Homan to come arrest her.
What is your response? Comment below. That's all for today. Thank you. If you want global news to keep you up to date on any new developments, please subscribe our channel and forward our content with your friends on social media and email. Thank you very much for keep supporting me. Stay safe. Be blessed. Namaste.
Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.